Celtics Talk podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com. 11 locations across New England.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Celtics Talk podcast here on the NBC Sports Boston podcast network. A fun one coming up for you today. We got Eddie House. Okay, so Eddie might have got a bunch of people down in Orlando riled up. Pretty much insinuated that the Magic were a bad team, and right before that big home and home in December, and then the Celtics went out and came out flat against that team and lost 2 in a row, and Orlando fans didn't take kindly. Well, Eddie's heading down to Orlando for us to help call that game, so I had to get his thoughts on what he thinks heading down to the Amway Center and what's it going to be like going into that building. Eddie's pretty fired up and has some bold predictions for what might happen down there. But before we dive into that, let's just start with the state of the team. 9 straight wins. It feels like, if you were hesitant at all coming out of that December funk, the Celtics have been really good the last few weeks, not the least of which is going out and kind of grinding out a win against the Golden State Warriors and then turning around and finding a way against the Toronto Raptors. And no matter what the injuries have been, the Celtics have been pretty lucky. Besides missing Rob for most of the year, the team has been pretty healthy. And little injuries here and there, navigating a couple games without Jaylen Brown, but really had to go through it there against Toronto. Return of the hospital Celtics that we've seen in the past, but finding a way to kind of get through that, and how good Al Horford was, and doing it without Rob out there, without Marcus Smart, Derek White having to leave having to leave late in that game. An impressive victory up there, and you look up and the Celtics have a little cushion here in the Eastern Conference. Not a lot to nitpick. You'll hear us. We're going to get into the trade deadline stuff. I've been trying to sort of balance, like, how do I feel about where the Celtics are as a team? And one of the things I keep thinking is, you don't get to this point of the season and feel like you have a legitimate chance. And as healthy as you've been, you always start wondering, like, you don't want to feel like you're one piece short. And I think at times last year, even on that finals run, it was like, oh, what if they just had one more guy? And we thought adding Malcolm Brogdon was sort of, okay, they've got that missing piece, and maybe Gallinari you throw in there as well. But not having Gallo this year, and Hauser fading a little bit. I think it's interesting. I asked both Eddie House and Tom Giles about, do you feel like you need one more piece? And I think this is going to be a recurring sort of theme over the next couple of weeks here up until the trade deadline. You don't want to get to that point and just be like, man, if you just had one more guy, you could have navigated the regular season a little bit better, or you could have got Jason and Jaylen 5 minutes of breather in the playoffs. If you could find a guy you could confidently lean on at the wing. I don't think Brad Stevens has to make a move, but I am eager to see if just sort of where the Celtics are, being a legitimate contender, spurs him to make a little bit of a move. And, whether that's a big to help navigate Rob and Al to the finish line, or if that's, adding a wing and just kind of taking some of the pressure off the Jays. And maybe that can be done through the buyout market. I do think it's going to come down to a sort of a deal by deal potential. And, look, I thought the Celtics, one of their main trade assets might have been Peyton Pritchard. Well, then you see Marcus Smart go down, and here we are, and we start thinking, man, maybe you do need a little bit extra depth. Malcolm Brogdon is going to miss that Orlando game due to personal reasons. It's a luxury to have a Peyton Pritchard to trot out there. And so even though I think you'd love for Peyton Pritchard to have a bigger role, and I'm sure Peyton Pritchard would love a bigger role, it's a luxury for a very talented team to have those options to go to. And for Peyton to come in and score 12 points in that game against Toronto and play with energy, it's all what goes back to, I think back to 2019, and the Celtics had all this talent, but they didn't know how to make it work together. And this year it feels like everyone sort of knows where they fit in the hierarchy, and even a guy like Peyton might want more and yearn for more. And I'm sure he sits there sometimes and thinks, man, if I was just on another team, I could flourish and show what I can do as an NBA player. But it's an embarrassment of riches for the Celtics to be able to have a Peyton Pritchard off the bench. So maybe if Brad Stevens was thinking that's one of our primary trade chips, even though his salary is low and you might not get quite as much value, I'm eager to see how Brad treads moving forward. The whole Gallinari thing, like here's a guy you brought in. He grew up loving the Celtics because of Larry Bird and is genuinely, excited to put on that jersey, and yet hasn't been able to do it. I do think you have to divorce those emotions a little bit. It's unfortunate what happened to Gallo, and he's been a great teammate, and being on the road and being on these road trips and wanting to be out there in the playoffs, it just seems quite ambitious when you consider that undergoing surgery in late September, and most guys, the minimum is 9 months to get back out there. You're looking at, and that's June, I think, if I'm doing my math right here. And so you're not going to throw Gallinari out into the mix in a high pressure playoff series without any chance to ramp up. And I'm sure in his mind he'd love to get back quicker. And I saw a report today, overseas that he's operating like he might be able to get back out there for the playoffs. It's hard for me to see how at that age that he can do that. And so I do think Brad Stevens has to consider as hard as it might be to, divorce the personal feelings. And man, you signed up for this guy for 2 years and you really like to see him out there and you think he can help your team. But if there's someone who can more definitively help, I do think you have to give that a little bit more thought. And really, if you're going to build the salary to an impact player, Danilo Gallinari might ultimately might have to be part of that. So a fascinating trade deadline. I keep saying it, it's not like the Celtics have to make a move, but you just so rarely get to this point and feel like you're a legitimate contender. And I wonder if that just kind of gives Brad a little bit more motivation to figure something out. The Celtics do have a lot of their future picks. They've obviously given up first round picks to go get first off the Al Horford swap, and then adding Derek White, and then adding Malcolm Brogdon. They've built this thing out by using first round picks. At some point, you'd like Brad to be able to actually use those and add some young talent onto this roster and help defray the cost that you're paying your more premium players. But it's quite the balance this year. And can you get a guy on the buyout market if you wait? And history suggests that's tough. The PJ Browns and the Sam Cassells of the world have the rest of the NBA has not found them since the 2008 Celtics. So a whole bunch swirling as we despite as good as you should feel, 9 straight wins and the big buffer here in the Eastern Conference. Some stuff for the Celtics to figure out over these final few weeks before the trade deadline, and some interesting games on the radar too coming up. The Lakers and next weekend, and so buckle up. And we got All-Star Joe and the coaching staff going to All-Star weekend. Like, what a great story, just considering all the things that happened in the whole Ime situation, and Joe getting thrown into this, and now maybe him and his staff get to go out to Utah and coach one of these teams, and maybe coach Jalen or Jason or however it plays out for those guys, and however they divide up the teams nowadays. But more importantly, let's get into it. Celtics about to embark on a Floridian back-to-back. Eddie House, we've dispatched him down to Orlando. He's getting ready to go in. You felt like Eddie was going on a business trip here, so a mission based on how it unfolded last time against the Magic. Here's our conversation with Eddie and Tom Giles. All right, Eddie.
Yo.
Giles, what's up?
What's happening?
I had to keep you here because Eddie's going down to Orlando.
He is going down to Orlando. I don't know if you heard that at the end of the post game, but
And I might go to Universal Studios. I might take in Disney. I don't know.
You a big Harry Potter guy?
No, I'm not I don't even know. What's his name? The one, Worms? What is it? See, I don't know none of them. No, I'm not a Harry Potter dude.
I was going to say I can't help you. I'm not either.
Hogwarts. There it is.
I had to figure process.
The butter beer.
Ooh, it's pretty good.
Yeah, see, I had some butter beer before.
Yeah. How you feeling about going down and see?
I'm gonna tell you how I feel.
Can I set the table first?
Set it up.
Okay, so
a
couple months ago, the Celtics were going into 1 month ago. The Celtics were about to host a home and home against Orlando. Eddie was feeling pretty bullish about their chances. I think we all were feeling pretty bullish about their chances.
Yeah,
they were playing good basketball. A little bump in the road with Golden State, but we said, chance to get back on track. What happened? Orlando Magic beat them twice.
Right. And
so now we said, how do we change the mojo against the Magic? So we are dispatching Eddie House to Orlando.
Listen, I'm going to do nothing but say kind words about the Orlando Magic because the last time I said harsh words, it went the other way. So this is a reverse mojo.
Yeah.
You know, reverse mojo. I think they have some good players over there, and I think that they have one of the best young players in Paolo Banchero. Yeah. They still, to me, they just don't mesh. You know, it don't come together. I played on the Clippers team that had #1 overall pick in Elton Brand, had Corey Maggette. We had some good pieces over there, Quentin Richardson.
Yeah.
We had some good pieces over there. And I remember I went to a comedy show in L.A., right? He was like, and, you know, it's like the Clippers. They just don't mesh. You know, so you can have these good pieces. You know, you can have some good dishes, right? You go to a restaurant. If they bring the wrong stuff to you, it might just not taste right. But it has to come together the right way. And that's how I feel about the Orlando Magic. And there's a reason why you pick in the lottery year after year after year after year. So Celtics, please, listen to me. Celtics, please, go out there and get this W. I'm out there, I'm going to be hoodied up. I'm going to have my sport coat on with my hoodie. I need a W because the last time that I said what I said about the Magic, I said they was garbage, right? And I was just giving locker room talk. That's how we would talk. If we were in the locker room, you look down and say, okay, man, it's 25 teams better than them. That team, lightweight garbage out here. No, heavyweight garbage. So not the players, but the team overall. I need a W because the last time that I did this, I had a week worth of Twitter action.
I was about to say, did you hear about that?
Oh, my God. They was on my Twitter. I mean, I'm talking about
there are Orlando Magic fans on Twitter?
Oh, no. See what I'm trying to say? That's what I didn't know they existed. But a week straight, like I'm talking about blowing it up, like nonstop. So they showed up and they showed out. I give shout out to their fans for, you know, defending that weakness that they got cracking. But at the same time, let's go out there and get this going.
You expect to get heckled a little bit? Because you're going to be in the building.
I'm going to be in the building. Everybody, I'm going to be in Orlando. Ain't nobody running.
Is that still the Amway Center?
I think it's still the Amway Center, potentially.
Amway Center?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amway Arena, maybe. I think
something like that.
See,
it's a beautiful arena. I do like it.
It's a nice arena. Okay. Cool. It's a nice city, too. Don't get me wrong. Orlando's
hold
a
on.
But the team is just, it don't match.
Take me back because you and the Celtics, especially that 2008 team, had many battles with Orlando and Dwight Howard and all that. Is some of this anger towards Orlando?
Hell no. Orlando is like the least thing that's on my mind about who is relevant in the NBA. They're not a relevant team. They haven't been relevant in a long time. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So, like, I'm not even like, and I'm not trying to give them extra fodder because at the end of the day, you need to be motivated yourself. I shouldn't be the one that's motivating you to be great, okay? Because anybody that's playing in the NBA is on a high level, and I shouldn't be the one to be motivating you. But nobody is worried about the Orlando Magic, man, and I don't want to because they got us the last time I said that. I need us to just go out there and take care of business, and if we take care of business the way that we know how, the Orlando Magic should not be a factor.
Well, yeah, but that's part of it, too, is you have to go out there and you have to take care of business. Like, when they lost the first time to Orlando, in that home, it was like, I can't believe they lost to them. Yeah. Then they lost the second game to them, and also the fashion in which they did, it's like, I would think that the Celtics are very motivated to win this game as well. Here's the thing, though. I'm
having PTSD. I'm thinking about all them tweets after.
Yeah, I'm sure. Look, Celtics going to be shorthanded going into that game.
For my Orlando Magic fans, at least I got your colors on tonight.
Did anyone get you with like a good burn? Was there any like?
Oh, no, it was a
There was just anger.
It was a bunch of haterism, bunch of anger. Everybody was so mad. I'm like, man, I didn't know that it was that serious.
I'll have to go listen to the Magic Talk podcast and see if.
Yeah, go listen to it because they probably gonna have something.
I think if you type in like Magic Talk podcast, though, that's probably
the first.
It's probably about like magic, like magicians magic. I don't think you're finding basketball there, man.
Dudes pulling rabbits out of hats.
Yeah.
All right, before we gotta get Eddie on the road, but I want to end on this. I want both your opinion. How you feeling about the state of the team in general? 9 straight wins. And the Celtics dodged some injury scares in that game the other night. How are you feeling about the trade deadline? I'll start with you. Overall, and do they need to do anything on the trade deadline?
I'm not sure if I want to shake anything up because I know how fragile camaraderie is. And when you have a team that's gelled, right, and moving in the right direction, and it finally seems like everything's coming together, right? Offensively, defensive, guys coming off the bench, guys who haven't been playing a lot coming in. And those are the guys that people are saying that should be on the trade block, right? I don't know if you want to fracture that. You know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And at the same time, if you do go get somebody that you feel can replace somebody else, how does that interact with the locker room?
Do you have a preference? Like if Brad Stevens says, I need just one more piece, is there a position?
Well, I need to talk to him and be like, hey, man, what are you thinking? And I can say, yeah, I'm with that or not. I can't just, right now, I don't feel like you can't be the best team in the NBA, right? And be like, we need something else. Like, no, I think you're good. Now, that's exactly what that would be doing. That would be gluttonous, right?
So the one thing that is interesting, though, I will say this, is that in the game against Toronto, as shorthanded as you are, still no Sam Hauser.
Yeah.
Another DMP. So it's just kind of he was a big part of coming off the bench and kind of giving some instant offense in October and November, and he hasn't been there really the last couple of months.
Really straight into December, and then the whole bench went into a funk.
I feel like my piece that I did with him. You
might have jinxed him.
I feel like I did. I gave him a little nickname with the 30 in the scope, and then all of a sudden
he lost the scope.
Yeah, he lost his sight. Yeah. You know what I mean? He couldn't throw it in the ocean. So I mean,
what's your advice to him? Because now he's not playing. Like,
my advice to him is like dive into the gym, like extra shots, like nonstop extra shots. Because I've been there. I've been there where you have these ups and downs, especially if you're not playing significant minutes night in and night out. You're asked to do something in a small amount of time, and you have to be perfect all the time. You know what I mean? And perfect doesn't necessarily mean you don't miss a shot, but you got to be knocking down shots when you get them. You can't go 0 for, and you go 0 for 3, then you don't have a chance to even come back in and maybe get another 6 looks, and you might go 5 for 6 right then, and then you look at the box where you're like, oh, he had a pretty good day, but everybody forgets that how you started. So to me, it's just being locked in, man, staying locked into your craft and in the gym, and find the spots that you get. Look at the film and be like, okay, this is where I get the bulk of my shots and how I get them. They might be on the move. Don't just take standstill shots if you're not getting standstill shots. If they're shots that you are on the move where you got to float baseline, it's baseline drive, baseline drift, and somebody kicks it to you there, work on those things. If it's floating up to the wing from another way when they're driving baseline or they're driving to the middle to kick to you, then do those things. Find a way to try to you got to psych yourself out, really.
I think 19 days to the trade deadline. Do you want something? Do you want a big? Do you want a
It's just nights when you are already without Jason Tatum, which just feels like that's, just rest right there, right? Even if the left wrist is bothering him, that's mostly rest. But then you see, Rob Williams, Marcus Smart, and you start to think they were remarkably healthy in the first half of the season. So it does make you wonder, okay, do you need to just add one more depth piece just in case you have to work your way through some injury?
What would that be, though?
That's the thing. Do you go out there and you get some big man insurance? Do you get a wing?
Who do you give up to get somebody to bring in?
So I'd prefer to just add through the buyout market. You know what I mean? I'm not necessarily giving up I don't want to give up any pieces on this team, pieces that are contributing right now. But if you have the opportunity to add somebody, then I'd look around and see.
The name that was out there last week was Jakob Poeltl. Spurs are obviously going to be trying to get as low in the standings as possible. Could you bundle Gallinari and draft picks? And at that point, we were talking about Peyton Pritchard.
For Poeltl?
For Poeltl. But then you have to pay Poeltl next year.
Do you think that puts you over? Do you think that really, Poeltl,
right.
For real, is that the guy that you're like, yeah, that's the real.
And you don't have a lot of.
Once we got him, it's over with.
Brad has used a lot of first-round picks, so there's not a lot of swings of that bat left. So they just got to trade cautiously. I'm telling you, though, I think we're 19 days away.
I kind of like what we have going on. I love the chemistry with the team. I feel like everybody messes with everybody, and that goes a long way. When you fracture that, there's somebody in there that feels a certain way behind that, and that can change. It just changes everything. It can change the practice momentum. In practice, they don't practice that much right now in the NBA. So when you do have practices, those are extremely important. So when you have a guy like Peyton Pritchard, who everybody keeps bringing up his name, right, who's going 100 every single practice because that's his game. He's sharpening you. He's making you better. Now you trade him away for somebody who's not going to give you that same effort, that's not making them better. I think that you got to be careful when you start thinking about those things, especially where we're at. Now, if we were mid-pack and looking like, damn, we should be better than this, then, okay.
Kind of like last year's trade deadline.
Okay, yeah, right.
When you went out there and you got Derek White.
Got Derek White. When you made that move, that was a great move. But when you have it rocking and rolling, I think you got to side on the air of caution and be careful on what you do and how you move, because the move that you might think is right, it could be the wrong move and it could be disastrous for a season.
I know all about having good chemistry.
Hello.
Thank you, boys. All right. Eddie, get down to Orlando. Bring home a win.
Good luck in
Bring home a
Orlando.
win,
Good
or we're
luck.
going to have some
I'm good.
discussions.
We're kicking off fall with big savings at State Line Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Lease a new Ram 1500 for $369 a month during Ram Power Days.
Hurry in, and you'll be saying,
Look no further than the award-winning 24 Auto Group. With over 2,600 vehicles in stock, the brands you love, backed by the savings and service you can count on. Visit today or shop online at 24autogroup.com.
All right. He's going to have his hoodie, his Terror Squad necklace, all ready to go as he invades Orlando. Jonathan Isaacs is going to be back for that game. Kind of a cool story, them getting back one of their big men. Same way the Celtics probably felt here, getting Rob Williams back in December. It's been 2 years since Isaacs has been on the court. A pretty cool story. I wonder if they'll have a little extra energy and motivation, even if he's playing whatever the small burst might be. Celtics got to be ready. Again, shorthanded, expected not to have Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart. I will see what happens with Rob. I suspect they'll give him that game off, not only the hyperextension, but just as they trade cautiously, maybe bring him back if you're going to bring him back for the second end there in Miami. But yeah, Celtics going to have to be ready because Miami plays with energy. But not only Miami, but Orlando. So they're going to have to be ready to go to keep this winning streak going and to get it to reach double digits. We'll be back with you after those games. We'll have the post-game pod. Thank you all for checking us out. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk podcast.